The third year of my relationship with the Buddhist prince of the capital's elite circle, I overheard him mentioning me to his friends. My master said she is my tribulation. Accompanying her for 3 years is already the limit. Perhaps you could help me, guide her to enlightenment, in this lifetime. I would only renounce my monastic vows for Tingting. That's when I found out he had a white moonlight, someone he loved but could never have. I refused to humiliate myself any further and ran away without a word. Later, the untouchable prince of the capital's elite scoured the entire city but couldn't find me. He finally broke his own rule and called me. Wen Pei, where are you? The man beneath me groaned, his voice hoarse, his thrusts shattering my own into broken gasps. I'm guiding her to ecstasy. 1. Today is Jiyu Cheng's birthday. His friend told me he was at his usual tea house. I rushed over immediately. I clutched the gift box. My palms damp with nervous sweat. I wanted to propose to him today. By the time I arrived, a circle of people was already seated inside. They were all Jiyu Cheng's friends. He was wearing a plain-colored long gown, with a string of prayer beads, polished to a shine, in his left hand. His formerly shaved head now sported a head of short, layered hair. His friend suddenly spoke up. Brother Jiyu, I heard your family's been pushing you hard to get married. Isn't it about time for you and Wen Pei to tie the knot? I tightened my grip on the gift, my heart pounding wildly. Then, I abruptly heard Jiyu Cheng's voice. I won't marry her. He took a sip of tea and said calmly, looking down, my master said she is my tribulation. I heard she's going to propose to me today, but 3 years with her is already my limit. Why don't you help me, enlighten her? In this lifetime, I would only renounce my vows for Tingting. At that moment, my mind went completely calm. It was as if all the noise from the outside world just faded away. Someone suddenly shouted out in agitation, I told you Brother Jiyu would never forget his one true love. It seemed like someone was looking over. I instinctively ducked behind the wall. I stood frozen in place, not daring to blink for what felt like an eternity. My eyes grew dry and sore, until a stinging wave of tears welled up. But then, I suddenly caught a glimpse of a graceful figure. Fluttering past like a butterfly, it swept right past me and darted into the private room. She threw herself into Jiyu Cheng's arms. Tingting, the white moonlight he had known for 10 years turned out to be Shumanting. Jiyu Cheng had always hated being touched by others. Even the housekeeper didn't dare to casually handle his clothes or make physical contact. That goes double for me. But now, my eyes were locked on Jiyu Cheng's expression and every move. I saw him place a hand on Shumanting's waist. He seemed to want to push her away. To my surprise, Shumanting only held on tighter. Jiyu Cheng wasn't angry, merely indulgent as he said, still so careless, be more careful. I finally understood. It wasn't that he couldn't be warmed, it was that his heart belonged to another, and that never changed. I'm Wen Pei. I can love with all my heart, and I can let go with grace. Anyway, from the very beginning, I was hired by his aunt to make Jiyu Cheng renounce his monastic vows. 2. Jiyu Cheng is the Buddhist prince of the Beijing social scene, a famously unattainable and aloof figure. He was blessed with striking good looks and came from immense wealth. Yet after graduating from university, he went alone to an obscure little temple in the capital city, shaved his head, and became a monk. Later, his mother, Madame Jiyu, forced his hand by threatening to take her own life, insisting he return to inherit the family fortune. Only then did he leave the temple and come back to take the helm of the company, but he refused to leave the monastic life. His mother sought me out and gave me 30 million, an advance of 10 million, if I can successfully get Jiyu Cheng to renounce his vows. The remaining 20 million will be transferred to me that very day. From the very first moment I saw him, I knew he was an unattainable flower on a high peak. But I, Wen Pei, have always loved a good challenge, especially when it comes to men. I was full of enthusiasm, always finding excuses to get close to him. My methods were incredibly clumsy, and he saw right through me every single time. He would push me away every single time, then I'd have to coax him gently, just to be allowed to stay, until he learned where I lived, the year and month of my birth. That's when he changed. You allowed my approach, you permitted my overstep. I thought I was the special one. Even his mother thought we were headed for something serious. Looking back now, I was just reading too much into it from the very beginning. My phone chimed with a notification. It was a message from Auntie. Pei Pei, it's all thanks to you. Chungza isn't talking about becoming a monk anymore. How did the proposal go today? If it was a yes, you can get the marriage license next month, have the wedding the month after, and we'll be holding a baby by next year. Auntie is really kind and never puts on airs. She's one of the few people who genuinely hopes Jiyu Chungza and I will end up together. I paused for a moment, then sent, Auntie, I'm not going to propose to Jiyu Chungza. I voluntarily give up the mission. I don't want the final payment either. 3. Jiyu Chungza doesn't know I'm here yet. I could hear Shu Manting's coquettish voice coming from the private room. I sent a message to Jiyu Chungza. Let's break up. In the private room, Jiyu Chungza's phone vibrated. Ringing out, he picked it up, his gaze calmly sweeping over the screen. Someone nearby asked about it. His voice was cool as he replied, nothing important. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. 3 years, and all I got was a verdict of insignificant. At least I have this 10 million to fall back on. I deleted all his contact information. Only then did I turn and walk away. I've been living at the Jiyu residence for the past 3 years, now that I've broken up with Jiyu Chungza. It's only natural to pack my things and leave. As I was pulling my suitcase out of the main building, I saw an unexpected figure up ahead, Jiyu Chungza's cousin, Shen Zhao. He was dressed in casual clothes, with an air of excessive, languid carelessness. A dark, brooding look in his eyes made people wary of approaching. I'm a little afraid of him. My aunt warned me about him before. In the capital, you can cross anyone, but don't cross him. I lowered my head, my gaze falling. I pretended not to see him and tried to push my suitcase past him. A hand suddenly clamped around my wrist. Seeing no escape, I obediently called out, "Cousin." He stared at me and scoffed lightly. "We broke up. Why are you calling me cousin?" I looked up in shock, only to meet his dark, intense gaze. How did he know about the breakup? He reached out, using the pad of his thumb to wipe the sweat from the corner of my eye. I turned my head away, breaking free from his touch. He frowned and asked, "Have you been crying?" "No, just tired." "Pathetic." "Not pathetic. I made 10 million. If you want to get back at them, I can help you with that." He let out a soft chuckle and said slowly, "If you're with me, everything I have is yours. If you want to take revenge with your own hands, all my resources are at your disposal." His smile was more unsettling than his stern expression. Sleep with him. Would I even be alive to spend those 10 million? But I still couldn't help but look at him, with an innocent, puzzled look. But I don't want to get revenge. I've made 10 million. With the job market being this cutthroat, I must have been working like a beast since the dawn of man to earn that much. I'm incredibly fortunate to have gotten my hands on this 10 million. As for Jiyu Chungza, he can chase after his unattainable ideal or keep his pampered mistress for all I care. Well, it's none of my business anymore. Yet, I caught a glimpse of Shen Zhao's increasingly somber expression. Remembering Auntie's warning, I broke out in a cold sweat. I stumbled, my mind racing for an escape plan. Then I heard him ask, "So 10 million is all it takes to date you? Make it 50 million first, and I'll give it a shot." I was speechless. I'm not that kind of gold digger, for 1 year. Deal. 5. It seems my departure didn't have much of an effect on Jiyu Chungza. He didn't return to the temple, either. I saw him again a month later, at the online launch event for Jiyu Corporation's new product. Shu Manting was standing right by his side. Observant people naturally noticed the change. Reporters immediately pressed me about where I had gone. Faced with a question he didn't want to answer, Jiyu Chungza could have simply refused or changed the subject. Yet, his tone was cold and dismissive, just an insignificant person. "Please refrain from mentioning irrelevant individuals at this press conference." I felt the bank card in my pocket, and my resentment and anger instantly melted away. My phone suddenly rang. It was Shen Zhao. After he got me out, he hired me at a high salary to be in a relationship with him. But after he brought me back, he never showed up again. He occasionally sends me a couple of messages on WeChat. Not that I mind. He pays far too well. "Where are you?" I replied obediently, "At home." There was a long silence on the other end. I could even hear his breathing grow heavier. He repeated the word home. Then, with a laugh, he said, "Come with me to a banquet tonight. My people will bring you over." 6. Shen Zhao's people arrived in no time. They took me to pick out clothes, and the sheer number of choices was dizzying. I was just about to choose a cute evening gown when the stylist took it right out of my hands. Propping her chin in her hand, she stared at me, looking me up and down. Finally, they brought over a sexy dress. With your cool, mature beauty, this cute style doesn't suit you. Try this one instead. The makeup artist then designed a unique look for me to match the gown. Even as I was helped into the car, I was still in a daze. Shen Zhao asked me to accompany him to the banquet. But he hasn't shown up yet. I made a round of the party, sampling the food as I went. Shen Zhao was still nowhere to be seen. When I turned around, I saw Xu Manting holding a wine glass. Her gaze fixed on my dress. Her friend's voice was loud enough for me to hear clearly from a distance. Isn't she that hanger-on of young Master Jiyu? Not long ago, he publicly called her insignificant, and she still has the nerve to show up here. Their gazes suddenly all fell upon me. Someone let out a gasp. Isn't that the dress? The one you couldn't get, Manting. The design for this dress took a full 3 years, followed by another year of handcrafting. Its value is beyond measure. And it's the only one of its kind in the world. How on earth could she afford it? Suddenly, another person whispered, "She's so beautiful, just like a movie star on TV." Under the gaze of the others, that person fell silent. I looked down. So this dress is worth that much. Xu Manting tightened her grip on the wine glass, her eyes darkening, and suddenly walked toward me. She curved her lips into a friendly smile directed at me. "Pei Pei, did you get an invitation too? Chang'e has been incredibly busy lately, but last night he made a point of sending someone over with my invitation. He even personally picked out my gown for me." Her friend immediately gushed. "Wow, Manting, Chang'e is so good to you." I nodded, not fully understanding, "But this gown doesn't suit you." Did Jiyu Chang'e really put any thought into it? If he did, then why wouldn't he let you wear makeup for such a grand banquet? Her expression darkened, and she instinctively covered her face. When she saw my makeup, a flash of envy flickered in her eyes. Her friends were busy comforting her. It was just the usual platitudes, like "you look fine without makeup." But who would believe that? 7. Xu Manting truly wasn't wearing any makeup, because Jiyu Chang'e detested cosmetics. She didn't want to be disliked. Whenever I was around him, I dressed plainly and wore no makeup. The party is so dull. I turned and left to use the restroom. I decided that if Shen Zhao still hadn't arrived by the time I came out, I'd just head home. But when I emerged, I saw Xu Manting waiting for me outside. She asked, knowing full well the answer, "Pei Pei, are you angry? Aren't we best friends? What you just said was way out of line." Yes, she was my closest friend in college. But after a car accident I had following graduation, she vanished off the face of the earth. It wasn't until a month ago, in that private room, that I saw her. Only then did I realize she was Jiyu Chang'e's white moonlight. Not anymore. With those words, I turned to leave. She quickly reached out and grabbed my arm. "Was that you at the private room door last time? I was so anxious that day. I could only see Chang'e. I didn't mean to ignore you. If you're upset, blame me." She bit her lip, her eyes welling up, her face a picture of guilt and hurt, a look of both stoic endurance and utter innocence. I clenched my fist, before I could even speak. A group of people suddenly emerged from around the corner. I know the one in front all too well. That person stood tall and proud, straight as a pine. Then, passing by me, they went to Xu Manting's side and soothingly stroked her hair. The gesture was surprisingly gentle. "You're not wrong, there's no need to apologize. Besides, there's nothing between her and me." His gaze was cold, but it faltered for a moment as it swept over me. He parted his lips slightly and uttered, "How tacky." 8. I waved my hand dismissively. No need to be so polite. Standing behind him were the very same group of people from the private room that day. Someone in the group muttered under their breath, "Oh, Wen Pei, so you were there that day. We were talking about a few things in the private room." "You didn't hear any of that, did you?" I met his gaze without flinching. "Oh, I heard it, heard every last word, loud and clear. You said I could never compare to Jiyu Chang'e's one true love. You said you'd had enough of me a long time ago. You said, 'Congratulations, Brother Jiyu, on escaping that mess.'" I pointed at each of them in turn. Whoever is pointed at must repeat what they said at the time. I don't have many talents, but I'm great at holding a grudge and bearing a petty grudge. Several people looked troubled. Jiyu Chang'e's gaze seemed to linger on my face for a long time. Xu Manting deliberately clung to his arm, coquettishly saying, "It's all my fault. If I had seen Pei Pei right there at the door and pulled her inside, she might not have stormed off in a huff and stayed away for so long." I just never imagined that the person eavesdropping at the door would be Pei Pei. Sure enough, as soon as she finished speaking, Ji Chung's icy gaze swept over me. When Pei, I don't recall inviting you, much less giving you permission to bully Manting. Security, please escort her out. His tone was so cold, I stared at him, stunned. All the emotions from just a moment ago vanished into thin air. He's not worth it. Suddenly, a cold voice came from behind. I invited them. Who gave you the nerve to bully her while I was away? 9. All eyes turned in that direction. Shen Zhao wore a faint, ambiguous smile that felt inexplicably dangerous. Who I invite is none of my cousin's business. In the capital, who would dare demand an explanation from him? The crowd fell silent, with many rushing to smooth things over and offer profuse apologies. But Shen Zhao was having none of it. What good is an apology from anyone else? Wasn't it you, cousin, who bullied Pei Pei? Ji Chung's gaze swept across my face, but did not linger. He replied flatly, my apologies, I overstepped. He has always been utterly indifferent to things he doesn't care about. Shen Zhao walked towards me and, in front of everyone, reached out his hand. I placed my hand in his. Everyone watched the scene in stunned disbelief. Brother Ji, are you being poached? Ji Chung's gaze, however, was fixed intently on our clasped hands. In the end, you still didn't listen to me. Having been by his side for 3 years, I naturally understood what he meant. I said deliberately, dangerous. I don't think so, but you're the dangerous one. I tightened my arm around Shen Zhao's and gave his muscle a squeeze. So firm, so strong, and look, are you even in the same league? The odds are like 9 to 1. He's the 9, you're the 1. I could see Shen Zhao was getting upset. I added, 1 punch from him, and you'd be pushing up daisies. You scrawny chicken. Shen Zhao finally let out a laugh. Poached chicken. Guess you just need more practice. Don't come crying when you can't even lift your little girlfriend. Shu Manting's face flushed crimson. No one dared to cross him when he was in this mood. The group hastily apologized and led Ji Chung's away from the scene. 10. Shen Zhao never did care for crowded places. He had no fondness for attending banquets. I was lost in thought when I suddenly heard a compliment. Shen Zhao patted my head. You look lovely, thank you. I was so unexpectedly flattered that I felt a sudden, shy urge to let go. But he tightened his grip, tucking my hand firmly into the crook of his arm. Hold on properly. I even gave you a chance to prove me wrong, and you didn't take it. Silly. I brought you here because I know you love enjoying good food in lively places, but I was late for a reason, and you didn't even ask me about it. You didn't tell me you were being bullied, either. Why does this feel like a child asking for candy? Next time, for sure, absolutely next time. This time, when we returned. Shen Zhao did not leave. Instead, they ended up coming home with me, but once we were back, my silence and my distracted state led him to misunderstand my intentions. What, are you still hung up on him? Shen Zhao's fingers traced my face with a slow, deliberate touch. The pads of his fingers were warm. His palm held a few thin calluses. They scraped against my skin, leaving a faint, prickling discomfort. He froze for a moment. Only then did he let go, scoffing lightly. So delicate. I don't know how someone so delicate managed to stay by that damned bald monk's side for 3 years. What an awful thing to say. Good thing it wasn't about me. I heard you gave him a defining the relationship gift, and an anniversary gift too. I nodded. I want one too. I helped you. Is it too much to ask for a gift in return? He seemed heartbroken, letting out a soft sigh. One only hears the laughter of the old, but who sees the tears of the new? It's as if not giving it to him would make me some unforgivable monster. Fine, take it. I rushed back to the bedroom, rummaged through everything, and found the gift box I hadn't given him last time. Then I dashed to the living room and handed him the box, a gift to mark the start of our official relationship. Shen Zhao's expression visibly brightened. I opened the box, only to find a string of prayer beads inside. Is this it? Just some lousy prayer beads? His eyes darkened. Narrowing with a dangerous glint, he turned his head and saw my eyes were glistening with unshed tears. On the verge of tears, he coaxed me gently. Don't cry, I'll wear it. Okay, I wasn't crying, I was just upset about the money. This was meant to be a gift for Ji Chung's birthday, the day I planned to propose to him. I searched high and low before I finally found it. It's not that I kept it because I still have feelings for Ji Chung's, It's just expensive, a thing worth hundreds of thousands. Only a spendthrift would throw it away. Afraid I wouldn't believe him, he quickly took it out of the box and put it on. The sandalwood prayer beads, set against his elegant wrist, looked both aesthetic and alluring. Wow, my eyes grew even redder. I thought he didn't like it and wouldn't take it. Who knew? Once given, it was gone for good. 11. The GU family held a family dinner, but only the younger generation attended. They have a similar get-together every year. It's all about helping everyone get to know each other better, so they can support one another down the line. Shen Zhao was the last to arrive. After he took his seat, he responded to the others' pleasantries in a distracted, half-hearted manner. He had always been like this, so they didn't think much of it. Shen Zhao was utterly devoted to his prayer beads. He made a point of showing them off wherever he went. Sure enough, once people noticed, they steered the conversation toward the beads. Shen Zhao. What's with the change of heart? A faint smile touched Shen Zhao's lips. Such hostility. Allow me to enlighten you. Jiyu Chengze was momentarily stunned by the words, but then his gaze abruptly fell upon the familiar string of prayer beads in the other man's hand. Suddenly, someone gasped in realization. Wait, I've seen those beads before, not long ago. I saw when Pei go through a lot of trouble to buy them. Weren't they meant for Brother Gu's marriage proposal? The sentence was left hanging, unfinished. A pair of laser-like gazes fell upon him. The man fell silent. Shen Zhao cast a cool, fleeting glance at Jiyu Chengze. The cold, sinister emotion in his eyes was almost palpable. In the end, she just shot him a sidelong glance. The phone began to ring, seeing the caller ID on the screen. His eyes softened with tenderness. It left the onlookers utterly speechless. A familiar, sweet voice came through the phone. Shen Zhao, when are you coming home? I've been waiting for you for so long. Just hearing that, Shen Zhao felt his heart melt. Home, that was their home. He loved hearing that word from her lips. I'll head back right now and bring you your favorite pastries from that shop. He stood up, straightened his collar, and grabbed his coat. Sorry. My girlfriend's really pushing me to go. He deliberately let his gaze fall on Jiyu Chengze. I heard you got a new girlfriend. Cousin, what's the matter? Doesn't she like you? Why doesn't she seem to care about you at all? He said it on purpose and left right after. Jiyu Chengze was left alone. His eyes dark and profound. He clenched his prayer beads, trying to calm his mind. Yet, peace simply would not come. 12. One day, not long after. It was already evening by the time I got back from dinner with friends. As I reached the foot of my building, I saw a figure standing tall and straight as a pine tree. It wasn't until I walked right up to him that I recognized Jiyu Chengze. I pretended not to see him, but as I tried to pass by him, he caught my wrist. I heard his cold voice demand, "Are you quite finished?" I pulled my hand free, frowning. I'm not making a scene. I hadn't understood my place before. I'm just a lowly wage slave. Getting that advance payment went straight to my head. I tried to talk sense into you, but you wouldn't listen. You're a hopeless case. Sometimes you get so exasperated that you just have to laugh. Who asked for advice from a monk like you? You've become so much worse than when we were pen pals. His gaze was piercing. Locking onto mine, he suddenly tightened his grip on my chin, his voice icy. How do you know about the pen pal? He always regarded me with a condescending, disdainful air. You claim to be my pen pal. Where are all the letters we exchanged? If you were really her, you would have kept them safe. I pressed my lips together tightly. I genuinely couldn't produce them. The year I graduated from university, I was in a car accident and had to ask Xu Manting to go back to my place and pack up my things for me. Yet Xu Manting remained completely silent. It wasn't until I returned from the hospital that I discovered all those letters had vanished without a trace. Back when I felt most isolated and helpless, I exchanged letters with my pen pal, Zed. We never pried too deeply into each other's lives. I only knew which city they were in, but after that stack of letters went missing, whenever I wrote to Zed again, I never got a reply. Gradually, I let go of him. It wasn't until I took on my aunt's task, got close to Jiyu Chengze, that I recognized him as Zed. All I could think about was what his expression would be when he found out I was when. I had forgotten that he didn't even tell me when he moved. Perhaps I was the only one who cared about this relationship. Now, I've finally come to face reality. Jiyu Chengze's gaze was icy cold. You can't produce it because Manting is the one who's been corresponding with me as my pen pal. When Pei, you'd stoop to any level to be with me. even resorting to impersonation, I suddenly burst out laughing. Xiao Hu bot for document anti-copying, for bookfinding bots. Choose Xiao Hu, stable, reliable. No pitfalls. No wonder, Xu Manting's family isn't well off. How did she suddenly manage to latch onto Jiyu Chang'e? So, she's a cuckoo in the nest. The pity is, Jiyu Chang'e and I had been pen pals for so many years. Yet, he only recognized the letters, not the person behind them. I expressionlessly pulled my hand away from his grasp. Have it your way. I was just about to turn and leave. Then, I heard Jiyu Chang'e's voice, colder and more somber than before. Were you with Shen Zhao just to spite me? To force me to come see you? Well, you've succeeded. What do you want, a kiss, or to go to bed? I'll give you what you're asking for. After this, we're even. Don't come between me and Manting again. 13. Jiyu Chang'e gripped my jaw. His grip was so strong I couldn't move. His eyes were chillingly cold and grim. His demeanor was in no way joking. In a panic, I slapped his hand hard. Jiyu Chang'e, have you lost your mind? He offered no further explanation, his grip unrelenting. He leaned in, trying to kiss me, but I slapped him across the face. His head snapped to the side, a red mark blooming on his cheek. He turned back, his eyes smoldering with rage. The cuff slipped down, revealing the prayer beads beneath. It only made his current appearance seem all the more ridiculous. He took both my hands in his and lowered his head to kiss me again. I turned my head away. It just felt absurd. I knew he was cold, but I never expected this side of him. But Shen Zhao told me this afternoon he'd be back late tonight. He had me pinned against the wall, unable to move. I was just about to kick him where it hurts. Suddenly, a dark figure shot out, moving so fast we couldn't even react. Jiyu Chang'e was already knocked to the ground by a single punch. The next moment, everything went black. I fell into a warm embrace, breathing in a familiar scent. I looked up at Shen Zhao, wrapping my arms tightly around his waist. I could feel his body tense up. His gaze dark and frightening, his breathing was heavy and ragged. Now I understand why everyone told me not to mess with him. This seems to be his truest self. But I don't feel afraid, only a sense of peace. I gave his back a pat, soothing him gently. I said, Shen Zhao, I'm fine, don't be afraid. Let's call the police. Forget about him. How about I take you home? Jiyu Chang'e propped himself up, only to see our intimate posture. His gaze suddenly sharpened. 14. The surveillance camera happened to capture the whole scene. We have both eyewitnesses and physical evidence. When the police arrived, they took us all to the station. After giving his statement, Jiyu Chang'e was sentenced to 5 days of detention. The news quickly reached the Jiyu residence. A large group of people descended upon the police station in a formidable procession. The housekeeper's eyes welled up with tears as she hurried over to apologize to me. Some people are still blaming me. It was just kids fooling around. Why take it all the way to the police station? I shot back. I was just fooling around with him too. Who knew there'd be solid evidence and he'd end up getting arrested? When Xu Manting found out, she rushed over in a hurry. Even if love has turned to hatred, is it really necessary to have Chang'e sent to prison? Do you mean to tell me you still haven't given up on Chang'e? My gaze turned icy as I stared at her in silence. She, however, was too guilty to meet my eyes. Does it even matter if I give up or not? After all, I'm not the one trying to steal someone else's place or impersonate them. You seem to be having quite the fun with it. Though, her face instantly drained of color, she looked at me in panic. How could you? She trailed off, her tone shifting. What are you talking about? I don't understand. She was restless and uneasy here. He quickly moved aside to avoid any contact with me. With the Jiyu family's financial resources, Jiyu Chang'e was quickly bailed out, but Shen Zhao had already taken me home. His gaze was icy cold. Wen Pei, how can your taste be so poor? You're actually interested in this kind of trash. I was speechless. This trash? He's your own cousin. You know, Shen Zhao's voice fell flat. I have nothing to do with the Jiyu family, or the Shen family. I fell abruptly silent. In his childhood, Shen Zhao was abducted by traffickers and subjected to inhuman abuse. To make matters worse, neither of his parents cared for him, each having started their own new families. No one knows how he managed to escape in the end. He collapsed halfway there and was only brought back after the police found him. After that, his personality became warped, paranoid, sinister, and cold. He was a ruthless and unhinged man. And everyone in the Jiyu household knew better than to cross him. because when he got angry, he truly had no regard for his own life. When we first met, in my mind, ours was purely a professional relationship, nothing more, nothing less. It was only after spending a lot of time with him that I realized, he actually has a soft and considerate side to him. When I dressed plainly and was too shy to wear makeup, he would buy me a whole room full of clothes. Don't dress like a little old lady. What diet? You're not fat. If anyone gives you a hard time, you give it right back to them. I've got your back. From now on, don't keep swallowing your pride over money, not even for me. 15. After that, Jiyu Chungza vanished from my sight. Shen Zhao seemed worried it had left me traumatized. He took me on a trip. He followed me without complaint, carrying my bags and all the new things I bought. Surrounded by all this money, I really did forget about those tedious little things. Back at the hotel that night, Shen Zhao stroked my face and said, "Wen Pei, is it the quiet, restrained type you're into?" I'm not him. I'm indulgent, and I talk a lot. I silently disagreed in my heart. That's not it at all. Taking advantage of my ignorance about his past, he crafted a persona for himself that was completely different from who he really is. But I had seen him before, without his knowledge. Following Jiyu Chungza, I saw him sitting alone in the corner, aloof and detached. He clearly wasn't one for indulgence. He spoke very little. It was as if an invisible barrier stood between him and everyone else. Seeing my disbelief, Shen Zhao offered no rebuttal. "You should go back to your own room." I stubbornly refused to leave. "No, I still want to watch the movie with you." His gaze darkened, and he fell silent for a moment. He didn't bring up me going back again. Instead, he laid out my pajamas and told me to go take a shower. I went without a fuss. That night, his hands gripped my waist as we lost ourselves in each other, but my mind was still on the movie. The movie, we haven't watched it yet. I tried to crawl away, but Jiyu Chungza pulled me back. His voice was husky as he lowered his head to kiss my cheek. "Pei Pei, I told you so." My mind went completely blank, unable to process what was happening. Her, indulgent and talkative. I was stunned. I never imagined that everything he said back then was the truth. He seemed to read my mind. He leaned in again. His voice was a low, husky murmur. "Pei Pei, I've always kept in shape. I don't need any enhancements. Pei Pei, look at me. Really look. See how I'm different from Jiyu Chungza. Remember my face well. Has he been here before?" Flustered and furious, I shot him a glare. He paused for a moment, then leaned down with a smile and kissed me. "Right, I forgot. He never touches you. I touch you." 16. He still wears that string of prayer beads I gave him. Treating it like a treasure, the beads chafed against my skin, a faint sting, yet, under the soothing touch of his fingertips, the sensation turned into a tingling numbness. The phone rang abruptly, my breath hitched, and my whole body tensed up. Then, I heard Shen Zhao hiss softly. He caught sight of the phone number on the screen. Suddenly, he tapped to answer. I was too scared to speak. Jiyu Chungza's trembling voice came from the other end. "Wen Pei, where are you? Why can't I find you anywhere? Are you in Yuncheng? Is that why you don't want to see me anymore?" How does he know about Yuncheng? I only ever mentioned to my pen pal, Zed, that I wanted to move to Yuncheng someday, that coastal city. I fell silent, suspecting he might already know the truth. Shen Zhao's sudden movement shattered my train of thought. He was clearly smiling, yet it was unnervingly cold. His voice was hoarse. "I am guiding her to paradise. Was it not you who said you wished to deliver Pei Pei?" We suddenly heard something snap, followed by the sound of many beads scattering across the floor. They made a series of crisp, tinkling sounds. He had broken the string of prayer beads he always kept with him. Jiyu Chungza ignored him, his voice trembling as he pressed me. "Wen Pei, didn't you love me most of all? I just feel sick to my stomach, and I want to laugh. You're my calamity. How could I possibly like you? Besides, you're so tacky. I still prefer Shen Zhao now. I'm giving back every single word he said about me. Shu Manting is your pen pal. Settle down and build a life with her. You two are a good match." The call ended. Shen Zhao looked down at me with a smile and asked, "How can you be so soft all over, yet still manage to say something so tough?" Sensing the change, my eyes flew wide open. "You, Pei Pei, I have no self-restraint when it comes to desire, or to being flirted with." I was left speechless, with no way to defend myself. How did glaring at him turn into flirting? But he didn't give me a chance to speak, just kept his head down and continued his work. Then, I quietly savored the cleansing rain. 17. After we returned, Shenjiao's official duties began to pile up. I had no choice but to have my assistant take me home first that night. Shenjiao's assistant was muttering to himself, "It's strange, has Mr. Shen been acting a bit off these past few days? He spaces out during meetings and sometimes chuckles to himself in his office, especially that string of prayer beads. He never let them out of his hand, treasured them like they were priceless, and practically wanted to charge people just for looking at them." I felt my face flush with embarrassment, because that day, he really put me through the ringer. Ever since that night, he's been like this, always walking around with a beaming, radiant smile. But after I got out of the car, I saw Jiyu Chengze standing there. He stood rigidly, his gaze fixed silently on the entrance. It was impossible to tell how long he had been waiting. At the sound, he turned his head abruptly. His eyes flickered when he saw me, as if he wanted to come closer, but my assistant stepped in front of me, blocking his way. His eyes were rimmed with red, a rare glimpse of his vulnerability. Yet, my own heart remained utterly unmoved. "Pei Pei, I never meant to hurt you. I was just trying to honor the promise we made to each other back then. Even though Xu Manting claims she's the pen pal I used to write to, I feel she's changed so much. Being with her just doesn't feel the same anymore. My heart keeps pulling me towards you, but my mind always drags me back to reality. I don't want to break the promise we made. I never imagined you were Zed. I only left the secular world because you said you were dying, but I never forgot you." His family went through a difficult time back then. His father, who had been in a vegetative state for years, eventually passed away. He grew increasingly withdrawn and avoided social interaction. For 2 whole years, we healed each other through our letters. Back when I had that car accident, before the ambulance arrived, I thought I was going to die. I took out a pen and paper by the roadside and wrote down what had just happened. I told him I hoped we'd be great friends in our next life, and that I'd get to see him again. The ambulance only arrived after the courier had taken the letter, but I didn't die. After that, I sent letters but received no reply. I looked at him calmly and said quietly, "I gave you a chance. Even as a child, I knew I'd be a hopeless romantic, so from the very start, I set a rule for myself. I'd only allow myself 3 chances to be a fool for love. After those 3 times, I'd walk away, no matter how much it hurt. If you can't manage that, then I'll just be a stay-at-home mom with 7 sons, broken, having to ask my husband for every penny, counting this proposal, that makes 3 times exactly. So I won't look back, ever. I've cut ties with Xu Manting. I told her to leave all your things behind. Don't forget me, okay?" His eyes dimmed as he pulled 2 photographs from his pocket. They were pictures of us together. "I kept these photos long before I knew you were Zed. I just couldn't face my feelings, so I hid them away, though I never could bring myself to destroy them. I reached out and took them." Under the gleam of his joyful, expectant gaze, I tore the photos to pieces with my own hands. I said flatly, "Oh, but I'd forgotten all about these ages ago. There's no point in keeping them. I'd rather you didn't keep these. My boyfriend might get jealous if he sees them." He swayed slightly, his eyes bloodshot as he stared at the shattered pieces on the ground. I turned and walked away, but then I saw him crouch down and begin to gather the fragments, piece by piece. I never looked back. What's past should have been left behind long ago. 18. It was only after I returned that I found out. Over the years, Xu Manting leveraged my status to exploit a significant amount of the Jiyu family's resources. The Jiyu family never made an issue of it. Overnight, she plummeted from heaven into the mire, forced to pay back all the ill-gotten gains. She was left penniless. Over the years, she had developed a habit of living a life of extravagance. It's as hard as climbing to heaven to go from luxury back to frugality, yet she had no desire to find a job. Looking down on the low pay, gradually, she couldn't even afford to pay for her meals. All those letters from back then were taken away by Jiyu Chengze. Jiyu Chengze showed no regard for our past affection. Once, while Shenjiao and I were dining out, I saw Xu Manting glaring at me with hatred through the window. Her gaze soon fell upon the food on our table. I wiped my mouth and left with Shenjiao. No sooner had we left than Xu Manting rushed in like a starving wolf and devoured our leftovers. Shortly after, a server approached and presented her with a set meal. With a smile, they said, "The guests from the previous table ordered this for you. Take your time, I have a job opportunity here. Would you be interested in hearing more about it?" Xu Manting, her mouth completely full, suddenly stopped moving. She burst into tears with a wail. I never intended to drive anyone to despair. I just never expected Jiyu Chungza to be so ruthless. I heard Jiyu Chungza has also resolutely left the monastic life. However, due to all the outrageous things he's done over the years, the rest of the family deemed him unfit to be the heir, and he was stripped of his high position. Now, he's just an obscure rich kid. I'm often stuck at home, 19. I know for sure my assistant told Shen Zhao that Jiyu Chungza came to see me and that we have a photo together. He's always been the jealous type, especially when it comes to Jiyu Chungza. I tried to comfort him, saying, "We might not have a photo together now, but we'll have plenty in the future." He raised an eyebrow and glanced at me. "Who says we don't? We have a photo together. How come I didn't know about it?" Shen Zhao bent down and pulled out a sealed plastic bag from under the bedboard. I opened it, and sure enough, it was a group photo inside. It just looked a little too familiar. At 8 years old, Shen Zhao wasn't the cold and sinister person he is now. He had been kidnapped, a red mark visible on his face. Her eyes, round and lovely like black gemstones, stared coldly into the lens, devoid of any will to live. Beside her stood a little girl with her hair in twin ponytails. She looked to be about the same age as him. Her face was a mask of terror, eyes brimming with tears as she gazed frantically at the camera. "This is the photo the kidnappers sent to Shen Zhao's parents when we were abducted. When the photo was taken, he already knew they wouldn't lift a finger for him, so he held out no hope. I just never imagined Shen Zhao would go and ask them for the photo. He even printed it out and kept it all this time." I was stunned. "So you were that boy from back then?" "I'm not like Shen Zhao. He was kidnapped, and no one came to pay his ransom. I was sold to traffickers by my own father." With his own hands, I gently traced my fingers over the photograph. "That's a past I never want to talk about. After I ran away with Shen Zhao, I never brought it up again. I never went back to that house, either. The moment I came of age, the first thing I did was hand over all the evidence I'd gathered over the years to the police. I was the one who sent my own father to prison. I thought for sure Shen Zhao wouldn't want to bring it up either, yet he kept this photo, treasuring it like a precious gem. All these years, I threw myself into his arms. "So you recognized me all along?" He nodded. "What a shame. A certain little girl once promised she'd come find me. But then she vanished without a trace and even found herself a pen pal with questionable character. And when we met again, you didn't recognize me. You were even afraid of me." The more he spoke, the guiltier I felt. I quickly buried my face in his chest and mumbled an apology. Remembering the 50 million, I said, "You got a really bad deal." "How so?" "Originally, you only needed to pay me 50 million a year, but now, you've given me your entire fortune, which far exceeds that amount." He thought to himself, "Well, that does seem like a raw deal." My eyes flew wide open. I can say it's a bad deal, but would he dare to call it a loss? I pounced and gently nipped at his Adam's apple. I saw his Adam's apple, Bob. "Then compensate me first, and we'll be even." He picked me up and carried me toward the bedroom. I blurted out in a panic, "I don't want to go in. Going in there would be a death sentence." He paused mid-step and reached to loosen his own garment. He raised an eyebrow with a light chuckle. "Right here. Fine. You always know how to handle me." Knowing full well I'd give in, I tried to explain, but he pinned me down on the sofa. In the deep kiss, there wasn't a sliver of space between us. Late into the night, I was so exhausted I couldn't move a finger. In my dazed state, a sudden chill touched my fingertip. I looked up and saw a sparkling diamond ring slipped onto my ring finger. Shen Zhao was being incredibly clingy, planting a soft kiss on my cheek. "Darling, I've already given you the engagement gift. Is it too much to ask for a proper title now?" "Not too much to ask." I smiled and buried my face in his chest. Outside the window, the starry river of night flowed, and the city lights blazed brightly. Once, not a single light in the sea of 10,000 homes was lit for me. We were two children without a home, yet now, we've built a new one together, a beacon through the long night. The end. Story 2. In my previous life, I never spent a single penny of Jiyu Xuanqing's until I died, but before I took my last breath, he was holding the hand of that female assistant and calling me a gold digger one after another. I was severely injured while protecting him, yet he demanded that the doctor treat his female assistant first, whose nose was broken. When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn, back to the day when Jiyu Shencheng said he would compensate me with money. looking at the unlimited credit card in front of me. This time I didn't refuse. No matter what I buy, you won't restrict me, right? Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. If I spend too much money, you won't be unhappy, will you? Contempt was written all over Jiyu Xuanqing's face. As long as you don't bother me, you can spend it however you like. If I even blink an eye about it, I'll take your surname. When I grabbed that bank card in my hand, I suddenly felt that the bank card was like a rusty kitchen knife, bluntly cutting off the last trace of my affection for Jiyu Xuanqing. Okay, I understand what you mean. I'll take this card. From now on, we'll live our own lives. I promise I won't bother you anymore. You can do whatever you want with that €2. If I say even one more word about it, I'll be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. This sentence was a bit harsh. But when it reached Jiyu Xuanqing's ears, he thought I was just throwing a tantrum. Lin Yu, I should have told you many times that Euro and I are just ordinary friends. I only regard her as my younger sister. I hope you won't always use your dirty thoughts to speculate about your husband. It makes me feel sick. I was too lazy to listen to his nonsense. I directly turned him around and pushed him out. All right. You two are long-lost siblings. Your relationship is the purest. It's my dirty thoughts. Okay. I directly pushed him out of my room. Chairman Jiyu, you should go and get busy. I have something to do later, so I won't waste your time. After saying that, I slammed the door shut. I opened the wardrobe and planned to change my clothes, but I found that there were pitifully few clothes in my wardrobe. A few dresses and 2 tops were all I had. Only then did I remember that the expensive high-end luxury dress I had bought by living frugally before had long been torn to pieces by his hands during the last quarrel with Jiyu Xuanqing. He was going to attend a charity dinner, and as his family member, I naturally had to accompany him. But when I took out the dress that I had finally saved up money to buy, he flew into a rage and pointed at my nose and cursed. Lin Yu, have you had your head kicked by a donkey? What on earth were you thinking? Who are you insulting with this cheap thing? Do you know that you represent the face of the Jiyu family? If you attend the dinner in these clothes, where do you think I can put my face? You're a hopeless good-for-nothing, a vulgar and unrefined pig. Even a dog can dress better than you. You don't have to go to this dinner either. Taking a tasteless bumpkin like you is just embarrassing me. That dress cost me almost 10,000 yuan. I didn't know what I had done wrong to make him so angry. It wasn't until I saw Jiyu Xuanqing, dressed in a high-end custom-made suit, holding the arm of Chu Euro, who was wearing a luxurious evening gown, making an appearance at the charity dinner on TV, that I realized that what Jiyu Xuanqing disliked wasn't my dress. What he disliked was me as a person. He wanted me to accompany him to the dinner and then find fault with me to deny me, so that he could justifiably let Chu Euro replace me and accompany him to the dinner. He was always like this, never admitting his likes and dislikes, but achieving his goals by shifting the blame onto others. At this moment, looking at the bank card in my hand, my thoughts returned to my previous life. In my previous life, Jiyu Xuanqing and I grew up together in an orphanage since we were children. I was 1 year older than him, and from childhood to adulthood, I had been protecting him in the role of an elder sister. In our senior year of high school, we both faced a major life issue at the same time, going to college, but at that time, we didn't have enough financial resources to complete our university studies. In order to fulfill his dream of going to college, I resolutely chose to drop out of school. Without even taking the college entrance examination, I started my working career. I handed out flyers on the street, delivered takeout, washed dishes in a restaurant, and even sold my blood, just to make his life a little more comfortable. I supported him through college and then helped him get into graduate school, until he entered society and started working. I kept working without fail, not daring to take a day off or slack off for a single day. If I earned 10 yuan, he could only eat instant noodles, but if I earned 20 yuan, he could have a hot meal, for his sake. I ruined my health and finally achieved his rapid rise. He established his own company and quickly expanded it. In just a few years, he became a young and promising entrepreneur. At that time, he needed a touching story to increase his popularity. Naturally, his girlfriend who had supported him for several years, was pushed to the forefront by him. So everyone knew that behind the boss of the Jiyu group was a girlfriend who had always silently supported him. And he also took the opportunity to propose to me. thus establishing his image as a man of integrity and gratitude, and quickly attracted a large number of orders with this wave of popularity. At that time, I thought I had finally endured all the hardships and achieved a happy ending with him. Unexpectedly, on our wedding night, he coldly told me that it was just a deal. Now he is a high and mighty company president, while I am just a working-class person at the bottom of society. My monthly income is even less than that of an intern in his company. The gap in knowledge and experience swallowed up the affection we had once shared day and night. The boy who used to hold me tightly and say sweet words had turned into a cold-blooded and mercenary businessman, and our relationship had also become a tool for him to use. Linyu, I hope you can have a clear understanding of yourself. I married you because I didn't want others to gossip about me. But we are no longer in the same social class. It's impossible for me to love you. I will give you financial compensation, and you just need to maintain the role of a virtuous wife. As for what I do, that's my freedom, and I don't want you to interfere. I thought this was an insult to me, but for his sake, I chose to endure it and still took care of him carefully as before. I refused his financial compensation and still supported myself through my own work. Later, he got involved with the newly recruited assistant, Chu Yuro. Although he claimed many times that they were innocent, the intimate contacts time and time again made me unable to remain indifferent. After all, I was his nominal wife, and I loved him. The quarrels erased the last bit of his affection for me. Even when I saved him from a group of gangsters, it couldn't change his view of me. When I was stabbed in the back and on the verge of death, in his eyes, it became a boring trick for me to play the victim. Linyu, don't you think this kind of act is very childish? Playing the victim like this will only make me hate you even more. I don't have time to play along with you. Yuro's nose was broken while protecting me. If you want to pretend to be dead, just lie here and never get up. He forcefully demanded that the doctor treat Chu Yuro first, who had only been slapped, while I helplessly died in that corner at the end of the alley. Reborn in this life, I have completely seen through his feelings for me. A small act of kindness can earn gratitude, but a great deal of kindness can breed resentment. Since he thinks that money can ease his guilt towards me, then I'll fulfill his wish. That night, when Jiyu Shencheng, who had received the news, stormed into the nightclub owned by his friend, I was sitting in the booth of the nightclub, holding a wine glass with a tipsy look in my eyes. A male model with a tall stature and 8-pack abs, wearing a very alluring shirt, was holding a wine bottle and pouring wine for me with great respect. The next second, Jiyu Shencheng, furious, rushed over and slapped me hard in the face. Linyu, do you know what you're doing? Are you crazy? The wine glass in my hand fell to the ground, and my eyes, which had been stained with alcohol, showed no signs of drunkenness at this moment. I first took out a stack of money and handed it to the male model who was pouring wine beside me. After soothing him softly for a few words, I sent him away. Then I turned my gaze to Jiyu Shencheng, who had an angry expression on his face. I don't know, Chairman Jiyu, why don't you tell me what you just saw? Linyu, do you still know what shame is? Did I give you money for you to come here and find a lover? Jiyu Shencheng, which eye of yours saw me finding a lover? Do you think I'm blind? That bastard just now was dressed like a gigolo in a brothel. Do you really think I can't see that? He was 2 meters away from me. I didn't touch him, didn't grope him, and didn't kiss him. I spent money to enjoy myself. I just asked him to pour wine for me. Don't I even deserve to enjoy a service like having someone pour wine for me? I glanced at the bar owner behind him and pointed at the surveillance camera on the wall. Since your good friend reported me to you, why don't you check the surveillance here and see if I've really done anything to betray you? I stood in front of Jiyu Shencheng, looked up and stared into his eyes. Jiyu Shencheng, I know I'm a married woman. Even if this marriage is fake, I will still have the basic respect for my significant other. I'm not like you, who wants to build a landmark image and at the same time engage in promiscuous behavior. I've caught you hugging and holding hands with Chu Yuro more than once or twice. According to the standards you just used against me, who is the one without shame, you or me? Jiyu Shencheng knew that his actions just now were unjustifiable. He had received a call from the bar owner, who was his friend, saying that I was consuming in the bar, so he rushed over in a hurry to catch me in the act. In his eyes, in our marriage, it was a case of a strong man and a weak woman, so he always put himself on a high pedestal, thinking that his minor mistakes were insignificant. But if I strayed even a little, I would deserve to die. But he forgot that when I supported him through college, it wasn't him who gnawed on cold steamed buns with cold water, it wasn't him who was forced to sell his blood, and it wasn't him who delivered takeout in the heavy snow and dislocated his arm from the fall. At this moment, faced with my questioning, although he didn't dare to meet my gaze, the look of contempt still hung blatantly on his face. You never used to spend money in places like this, how was I supposed to know what got into you? Only then did he notice that I was wearing a high-end luxury brand dress today, the form-fitting dress set off my exquisite curves, and even my body exuded a pleasant perfume smell. I was completely different in temperament from the plain-looking me in the past. Jiyu Shencheng then realized that if the woman in front of him dressed up properly, she was no worse than his female assistant. I took out the card he gave me from my wallet. This is the card you gave me. You said that as long as I don't bother you, I can do whatever I want and buy whatever I want. Is that what you said? Do you regret it now and plan to take this card back? Jiyu Shencheng looked at me stubbornly. I won't take back what I said. There's no such word as regret in my dictionary at all. Good. I picked up a bottle of Glenfiddich next to me and directly smashed it on the marble table, making a clear and loud noise. The nightclub fell silent instantly, and everyone was attracted by the noise and looked in our direction. The splashing wine soaked Jiyu Xuanqing's expensive suit pants and leather shoes. In his shocked gaze, I directly stood on the table and held up the black card in my hand. Listen up, everyone. All the consumption tonight will be paid for by me. Boom. The deafening music sounded at the right time, and the cheers of the crowd rose one after another. I was surrounded by the people in the nightclub, and the enthusiastic cheers became the main theme of the nightclub. In the shining lights and the loud music, Jiyu Shencheng looked at me with a complicated expression. The next morning, Jiyu Shencheng was in a meeting when his phone suddenly kept ringing with message alerts. He casually opened his phone and took a glance. After seeing those more than 10 consecutive messages, his eyelids suddenly twitched uncontrollably. Dear customer, a deduction transaction occurred on your bank card with the tail number 8888, with an expenditure of 1.5 million yuan, for POS machine consumption. Dear customer, a deduction transaction occurred on your bank card with the tail number 8888, with an expenditure of 2 million yuan, for POS machine consumption. Dear customer, a deduction transaction occurred on your bank card with the tail number 8888, with an expenditure of 5 million yuan, for POS machine consumption. Dear customer, your bank card with the tail number 8888. He didn't care about the meeting anymore and quickly dialed my phone number. As soon as the phone was connected, he bombarded me with questions. Lin Yu, what on earth are you doing? Why did you swipe more than 20 million yuan from my card in just 5 minutes? What did you buy? Hair. Is Chairman Jiyu feeling heartbroken now? Before I could say anything else, Jiyu Shencheng directly hung up the phone. In my previous life, when he gave me this black card, I only thought it was an insult to me and a desecration of my relationship with him. I insisted on not using this card, and in the end, I only had 30 yuan on me when I died. In my previous life, I gave everything for him. In the end, not only did I not get half a smile from him, but I also lost my life trying to save him. So in this life, I'm not going to hurt myself anymore. What do you mean by being a gold digger? My 2 lifetimes of hard work and 1 life. Is this called being a gold digger? This is called collecting a debt. My friend who specializes in handling cash withdrawal business held up the POS machine and looked at me. Sister Lin, should we swipe it again? I looked at the more than 27 million yuan in the bank card, gritted my teeth. Swipe it. Make it up to 30 million. Good luck. When I drove the newly bought Porsche roaring into the community that night, with 30 million yuan in the card, I was in an extremely good mood. Jiyu Shencheng has always regarded his face as more important than his life, even if he now regrets and wants to take the card back. These 30 million yuan are enough for my expenses in the rest of my life. I opened the door and entered the villa. Jiyu Shencheng was lying on the sofa in the living room, with a towel soaked in warm water covering his head. His headache had flared up again. Every time he had a headache before, I would take the initiative to massage him to relieve the pain so that he could have a good sleep. But this time, I just ignored him as if I didn't see him and went straight upstairs to my room. Lin Yu, seeing that I was ignoring him, Jiyu Shencheng couldn't hold back after all. He sat up from the sofa, covering his head. Can't you see that I have a headache? I stood on the stairs, Looking down at him, I saw it. But what does it have to do with me? It's you who has a headache, not me. If you have a headache, go to the hospital. I'm not a doctor in the hospital. What's the use of you coming to me? Every time he had a headache before, I would take the initiative to massage him. Seeing him in pain, I felt so sad. But in the face of my enthusiasm, every time he would enjoy my care while showing me his cold attitude. Even when I massaged him, he didn't have a good look for me. He wanted me to massage him to relieve the pain, but he just wouldn't mention it. He just waited for me to take the initiative, and then the next day he would put on an attitude of I didn't ask you to do it to dismiss me. Just like today, instead of going back to his own room, he deliberately lay on the sofa in the living room, just wanting me to offer my help as I used to. Unfortunately, a heart that has been completely chilled is hard to warm up again, in the face of my indifference. He tore off the towel on his head, angrily went back to his room, and then slammed the bedroom door shut. I was too lazy to pay attention to him and turned back to my own room as well. Anyway, it's him who can't sleep because of the headache, not me. If he could ask me nicely to help him. I'm not as heartless and cold-blooded as he is, but he always pretends to be reluctant, so why should I be so eager to serve him? Just because he owes me, do I have to keep giving, in the middle of the night? My door was knocked on. I opened the door, and Jiu Xuanqing's haggard face appeared at my door. You're not sleeping in the middle of the night. What do you want from me? He held an ice pack on his head. His face was a bit pale, but his words were still in a commanding tone. I can't stand this headache anymore. I didn't even eat dinner. Go and cook me some vegetable porridge. Jiu Xuanqing, I'm not your nanny. If you're sick, go see a doctor. If you're hungry, order takeout. What do you want me for? Where's your assistant, Chu Euro? You can ask her for help. Do you pay her salary just to fatten her up? Jiu Xuanqing looked at me in disbelief. He couldn't figure out why the woman who used to treat him like a treasure could now say such cold words. Fine, if you don't want to do it. It's not like I'm begging you. He left in a fit of pique, but the voice that he thought would stop him didn't sound behind him as before. Instead, the sound of the door closing made him tremble all over. He stood there, his face full of an incredulous expression. He thought I couldn't help coming out, but my door was like the mouth of a person of integrity, always tightly closed. At that moment, his heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly felt as if something was being pulled away from his hands, and he couldn't catch it. Jiu Xuanqing dialed the 120 emergency number, and the ambulance took him away. He already had a headache today. He drank 2 glasses of wine during the social engagement in the evening. He also forgot to bring an umbrella when he came back and got caught in the rain when he got out of the car. Usually, when he had a headache, I would massage him, but this time I didn't. Every time he drank for socializing, I would dissolve honey in warm water to help him sober up, but this time I didn't even boil hot water. Every time it rained outside, I would hold an umbrella and wait for him at the door, but this time I wasn't even at home. If he got caught in the rain, I would dry his hair for him, let him take a hot shower, and prepare medicine for him in advance, but this time I didn't prepare anything, so he had a fever. In the early morning, he was shivering all over from the cold, feeling both hot and cold. He called my name a few times. If it were normal, I would definitely appear the first time, open the door and come in, asking him nervously what was wrong, but this time, he called my name several times in a hoarse voice, but the person who should have appeared never opened the door and came in. The room was as dark as ink, and he couldn't see his hand in front of his face. Jiu Xuanqing suddenly had a feeling that he was abandoned. He forced himself to pull himself together and walked out of the room. The moment he opened the door, he couldn't help shivering. He only felt that his head was splitting with pain. He knocked on my door, but there was no response for a long time. He simply pushed the door open and found that I wasn't in the room at all. I wasn't at home. Jiu Xuanqing took out a thermometer from the first aid kit. It was 39.3 degrees, a high fever. The headache was getting worse and worse. He took out his phone. The light of the phone screen stung his eyes so much that tears came out. He scrolled to the number that he usually hated to see the most and then dialed it. Sorry, the number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later. Jiu Xuanqing was a bit stunned because usually my phone was turned on 24 hours for him. No matter when he dialed, I would press the answer button the first time. But this time, the number that had always been on standby for him suddenly couldn't be reached. Jiu Xuanqing didn't dare to delay any longer. He dialed the 120 emergency number. Half an hour later, the ambulance arrived and found Jiyu Shencheng, who had fainted at the door of the villa. He felt that he couldn't hold on anymore, so he opened the door of the villa in advance to prevent the medical staff from being blocked outside and delaying the treatment. He was taken to the hospital by the ambulance and was initially diagnosed with pneumonia. He had to be hospitalized for treatment. It wasn't until noon the next day that, after receiving 3 large bottles of intravenous fluids, his fever finally subsided, but the resulting body aches made him feel as if tens of thousands of ants were biting all over his body. In the cold ward, the snow-white walls were like pale white cloth, making him feel suffocated. The dry feeling in his throat made him wish he could pull out his throat and soak it in water, but at this moment, there wasn't even a cup of hot water in the ward. His stomach was empty, and he was so hungry. He dialed Lin Yu's number again, but it was still the cold prompt tone, telling him that the number he dialed couldn't be reached. Jiyu Shencheng belatedly realized that Lin Yu might have blocked his number. He dialed Chu Yuro's number and said that he was sick and asked her to come to the hospital. When Chu Yuro learned that he was in the hospital, although she readily agreed, a trace of displeasure in her tone made Jiyu Shencheng feel uncomfortable. Probably Chu Yuro had something to do at this time, and his call had delayed her. Jiyu Shencheng suddenly realized that he seemed to have caused trouble for Chu Yuro. If Lin Yu knew that I was in the hospital, I don't know how worried she would be. This thought suddenly popped up in his mind, surprising himself. He didn't understand why such an idea would suddenly come to his mind. 2 hours later, Chu Yuro, who was late, walked into the ward with a takeout box. He opened the box, revealing a boxed braised pork rice with a Chinese trendy packaging inside. Jiyu Shencheng was even more unhappy. Usually, when he was sick, Lin Yu was afraid that he wouldn't have an appetite. She would always cook all kinds of porridge for him in different ways and try to make the food light and refreshing. If she had brought such a box of braised pork rice to him, he would probably have thrown the takeout in Lin Yu's face long ago. But now it wasn't Lin Yu who brought the food. He suppressed the twitching in his stomach and the surging nausea, and reluctantly picked up a piece of meat with chopsticks and stuffed it into his mouth, swallowing it with difficulty. How is it? Is it delicious? This restaurant has a full score of 5.0 and not a single negative review. In the face of Chu Yuro's question, Jiyu Shencheng really wanted to smile at her and tell her it was delicious, but as soon as he opened his mouth, he vomited with a wow. Chu Yuro jumped back in fright. Seeing him vomiting violently, she turned around and ran out to call the nurse. At that moment, Jiyu Shencheng, covered in vomit, suddenly felt his nose sting. The nurse changed his ward and helped him change into a clean hospital gown. Then she turned to look at Chu Yuro, who couldn't help at all behind her. The patient is very weak now. How could you give him such greasy food? How do you act as a wife? Don't you have any common sense in life? Facing the nurse's accusation, Chu Yuro didn't care at all. She didn't even raise her head and just kept looking at her phone, as if the nurse's words were just hot air. After saying a few words and realizing that it was like talking to a brick wall, the nurse simply ignored it and walked out of the ward directly. Jiyu Shencheng lay on the hospital bed, feeling that his throat was burning with pain from the stomach acid that he had vomited up. Yuro, could you buy me a bowl of millet porridge? The sense of entitlement and recklessness he used to have when facing Lin Yu had all turned into caution in front of Chu Yuro. He didn't even dare to say that he wanted vegetable porridge because vegetable porridge was rarely sold in many places, and he was afraid that Chu Yuro would think he was being troublesome again. But even for just a bowl of millet porridge, a trace of impatience appeared between Chu Yuro's eyebrows, fully demonstrating what it means to be fearless when being favored. Okay, I'll go and buy it for you. After saying that, she put her phone in her pocket and walked out of the ward directly. The door of the ward was slammed shut. Jiyu Shencheng felt his nose sting for the second time today. He curled up on the hospital bed, and the pain in his stomach made him feel pathetic. He has a lot of money now, a great deal of money. It seems that he can easily get most things in the world with money. But now when he is sick, he can't even have a bowl of warm porridge to soothe his stomach. He dialed Lin Yu's number for the 3rd time today. This time the phone got through, which made Jiyu Shencheng feel both wronged and happy. He didn't know why he felt wronged, and he didn't know why he was happy either. But as soon as he dialed the phone, he felt as if he had caught hold of something again. Unfortunately, it was just an illusion because after the phone was connected, the other side didn't answer for a long time. The ringtone had been playing for almost a minute, and the person on the other side showed no sign of answering the phone. It wasn't until the phone was automatically hung up due to no one answering for a long time that Jiyu Xuancheng's consciousness returned to reality. It turned out that the woman who had always been standing there waiting for him had left quietly. Chu Yuro brought the millet porridge back. It was really just millet porridge, without eggs or pickled vegetables. Even the porridge was only slightly warm, just having a bit of temperature. Jiyu Xuancheng finished drinking that bowl of porridge dryly. He felt that the pain in his stomach was not so severe, but he still didn't feel comfortable. "All right, there's nothing else for you to do here. You can go back to work." Chu Yuro's eyes were fixed on her phone and she never bothered to move her gaze. "Let me stay with you. There's nothing much to do in the company anyway. I've made an appointment with a friend for dinner tonight. What do you want to eat? I can bring it to you by the way." Jiyu Xuancheng lay back on the bed and said in a flat tone, "No need." He took out his phone and flipped through it randomly. Suddenly, his finger stopped. He finally knew where Lin Yu had gone. In the WeChat moments, Lin Yu posted a set of 9 photos. She was standing next to an off-road vehicle, with an endless Gobi desert behind her. Lin Yu spread her arms, and her face behind the sunglasses had a wild smile. Far behind her, a golden mountain was like a piece of gold inlaid on the horizon, shining with a golden red light. "Honey, if we have money in the future, I want to go to Mount Kailash. I want to do a Kora around the mountain." "What are you going to do in such a high-altitude place?" People say that doing a Kora around the mountain can cleanse one's karmic obstacles and get the blessing of the gods. Lin Yu's face became clearer and clearer in Jiyu Xuancheng's mind. "It doesn't matter if I get the blessing or not. If there really are gods, I hope they can make you live a happy life forever. Even without me, I hope you'll be happy." Looking at Lin Yu in the photo, a light in Jiyu Xuancheng's heart was suddenly lit up. In the dim alley, Chu Yuro with a bleeding nose pretending to faint, the hooligans running away in a hurry, the medical staff he called away, and the furious police officers. These sharp memories came crashing down like a guillotine, breaking into his mind. Then he saw Lin Yu. Lin Yu with a dagger deeply inserted in her back. Lin Yu who was in too much pain to speak. Lin Yu whose eyes were full of pleading when looking at him. Lin Yu who didn't respond no matter how he shouted and cursed. Lin Yu who held him in the palm of her hand. Lin Yu who was happy for his success. Lin Yu who was completely hurt by him but still firmly blocked the knife for him. Jiyu Xuancheng is a successful businessman because he created a business empire in just a few years. But at this moment, Jiyu Xuancheng suddenly realized that he was the most failed businessman in the world because he had made the 2 most failed choices. He finally knew why he was sad, because the chairman of the Jiyu group, who had lived 2 lifetimes, had lost the things he was most proud of and cherished twice. Jiyu Xuancheng suddenly burst into tears on the hospital bed, letting his remorse wash over him with a torrent of tears. When I carried my luggage and walked out of the train station, Jiyu Xuancheng was standing in the crowd, craning his neck and eagerly waiting. I was taken aback for a moment and immediately realized that perhaps Chu Yuro was on a business trip and had taken the same train as me. I ignored Jiyu Xuancheng and instead carried my luggage towards the parking lot. Yeah, hearing this long-lost address, I felt as if time had stood still for a few seconds. I wanted to reach into my pocket for the car keys, but my hand suddenly started shaking, and I failed to take them out after several attempts. Yeah, wait for me. I was certain that I hadn't misheard. I slowly turned around and saw Jiyu Xuancheng running towards me with a delighted expression. In just a month, he had lost a lot of weight, and his face had turned sallow. He didn't look like a big company boss at all. Instead, he seemed more like a patient who had just recovered from a serious illness. "Who are you here to pick up?" He came over and grabbed my hand. "I'm here to pick you up." He reached out and pulled me into his arms, gently placing his hands on my back. "Yeah, I miss you so much." These words coming from his mouth made my ears buzz, and my mind went blank. For a moment, it seemed as if all sounds had ceased to exist. I felt that my thoughts were completely disrupted, tangled up in a mess. I couldn't find the starting point, nor could I untangle the knot. Suddenly, the dagger from my previous life seemed to break through the barriers of 2 lifetimes and stab into my back again, piercing my heart as well. "Jiyu Xuancheng, just get to the point if you have something to say. Stop being so touchy-feely." These emotionless words reached his ears, and he instinctively released me. Taking 2 steps back, his eyes quickly turned red. and he clenched his fists tightly, his knuckles losing their color and turning deathly pale due to the force. Yeah, I remember everything. I'm sorry, I was completely confused. Speak clearly. What do you remember? The previous life. I remember everything that happened in the previous life. I was a bit dazed and completely stunned. You mean, those hooligans? He nodded vigorously. Yes. I remember everything. I know you remember too, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't have treated me like that, you wouldn't have refused to answer my calls, and you wouldn't have left me when I was sick. Yeah, I'm back too. I know everything now, and I don't blame you, really. He opened his arms and walked towards me, his face taking on an unhealthy red flush due to excitement. Yeah, stop right there. I raised my hand to stop his next move. What do you blame me for? It was me who died in the previous life, not you. What right do you have to blame me? Since you've remembered, let's part ways amicably in this life. I took out that black card, I swiped tens of millions from you. Consider it the reward for saving your life in the previous life. From now on, we'll be even. You can take the broad road, and I'll cross the single plank bridge. We won't interfere with each other. What do you think? You like that, Chiyuro, don't you? I'll be free tomorrow. We can go to the marriage registration office to make an appointment. You'll be able to get the divorce certificate in a month. Don't worry, I definitely won't pester you this time. The tears in Jiyu Xuancheng's eyes could no longer be contained. And he shook his head desperately. No, I don't want that. I only want you. Yeah, I know I was wrong. In the previous life, I didn't know you would value me so much. I didn't mean to call away the doctor. I thought you were just trying to scare me and make me feel sorry for you. Yeah, I've transferred Chiyuro to another department. Don't worry, I won't have any contact with her in the future. He tremblingly grabbed my hand. Yeah, come home with me, okay. I shook off his hand and slapped him across the face. Lin Yu is already dead. You chose this, idol. Do you know how painful it is when a dagger stabs into your body? You don't know, because it wasn't you who got stabbed. And it definitely wasn't that bitch who only dares to cause trouble but not take responsibility. I clearly still had a chance to be rescued at that time. But what did you do? You stopped the doctor. You said I was pretending to be pitiful to deceive you. You said that bitch's nose was broken and bleeding a lot, and you were worried about her life. I watched helplessly as you shattered my last hope of survival. I was in so much pain that I was almost losing consciousness, and I couldn't even speak. But what about you? You didn't even look at me. Am I something so despicable? Should I just die? The dagger was in that hooligan's hand before. He was originally going to stab you. But as soon as I showed up, the dagger disappeared. Don't you think that's amazing? Of course you don't think it's amazing because you don't care about that dagger at all, and you don't care about me either. You only care about that bitch. I pushed him away. Jiyu Xiancheng, you really disgust me like this. I'd rather you didn't know that I died for you once. You're naturally cold-hearted, just like when I supported you through college and graduate school before. You didn't love me, you just couldn't live without me at that time. Later, when you got rich and didn't need me anymore, you grew indifferent. Now you like that Chiyuro, and in the future, you'll grow indifferent to her too, just like you did to me. You don't love anyone, you only love yourself. Jiyu Xiancheng completely broke down and hugged me tightly. No, I don't want to divorce you. I'm your husband, and I want to spend my whole life with you. I don't want to be separated from you. I gave everything for you in the previous life, even my life. Now we're even. You're the chairman of a big company, and I'm just a lowly takeout delivery person. I'm not worthy of you at all. I forcefully pulled him off me. Jiyu Xiancheng, consider it my plea to you. Just treat me like a fart. Let it go. Chiyuro called me and asked to meet. I agreed and told her an address. The meeting place was a roadside cold drink stall, and everything around it was completely out of place with Chiyuro, who was wearing a luxurious dress. All right, tell me. What do you want to talk to me about? Chiyuro adjusted the expensive necklace around her chest. Lin Yu, I advise you to have some self-awareness. Director Jiyu likes me now, not you. If you're sensible, you'd better divorce Director Jiyu as soon as possible and disappear from his side without any hesitation. Is that what you asked me out for today? Chiyuro nodded arrogantly. Otherwise, what right do you have to make me condescend to come to such a place? I heard that you were transferred to another department by Jiyu Xiancheng and are no longer his personal assistant. Is that true? What does it have to do with you? Let me tell you, be sensible and divorce him quickly to make way for a better person. Don't just occupy a position without doing anything. Do you understand? Let me warn you, don't be ungrateful. If you keep pestering Director GU, don't blame me for being rude to you. What are you doing? A furious shout came. And Chu Yuro's body shook. She turned around and looked at Jiu Shencheng behind her in disbelief. Director Jiu Shencheng walked over, and there was obvious anger in his eyes as he looked at Chu Yuro. What were you saying to her? Nothing. I just wanted to clear up some misunderstandings. Please don't be angry. I'll definitely pay attention next time. As soon as the words fell, several hooligans suddenly came over. It's so noisy. Are all you rich people so unmannered? You're disturbing our ears. Now our ears hurt. Hurry up and give us some medical expenses. My eyes swept over those hooligans, and I suddenly froze. I looked at Chu Yuro across from me in disbelief and found that she was staring at me with a vicious expression. In that instant, I understood everything. The hooligans in front of me were the same ones who had stabbed me to death in the previous life. Now that they were here, it could only mean one thing. They were brought here by Chu Yuro. And they were in cahoots with this bitch. Just as I was thinking, Chu Yuro had already started a fierce argument with them, just like in the previous life. But those hooligans were deliberately edging towards me. The leader of the hooligans had already reached into his lower back. He was going to pull out a knife. The next second, the dagger appeared in his hand, and he stabbed towards Jiu Shencheng with it. Chu Yuro was certain that I would take the knife for Jiu Shencheng. But she didn't know that I had been reborn, so I didn't move a step. The knife stabbed straight into Jiu Shuancheng's stomach. Jiu Shencheng, who hadn't had time to react, only then realized what had happened. Blood gushed out from the wound, and Chu Yuro cursed loudly. You idiot, who told you to stab him? Stab the woman, stab that woman. In the distance, the sound of police sirens grew closer. Jiu Shencheng managed to survive, but that stab had injured his internal organs. And he was forced to have one of his kidneys removed. This time, he endured the stab on his own but didn't die. By retrieving the surveillance footage and with the clues I provided, the police quickly identified those hooligans and arrested them on the same day as they were about to flee to another place. According to their confessions, they admitted that they had received benefits from Chu Yuro and that she had asked them to stage a scene. As a result, Chu Yuro was also arrested by the police. To my surprise, the hooligan who had stabbed someone turned out to be a fugitive. Due to his intellectual deficiency, he hadn't correctly understood Chu Yuro's order and ended up making the fake scene a real one. To be honest, I was a bit overwhelmed. I never expected that I had died at the hands of an idiot in my previous life, because Chu Yuro had instigated others to commit a crime and caused serious consequences. And the GU group had also discovered that she had carried out several illegal acts by taking advantage of her position. She was finally sentenced to life imprisonment. When everything was settled, I went to the hospital with the divorce agreement. This time, Jiu Shencheng on the hospital bed didn't try to hold me back. He just calmly signed the divorce agreement. I voluntarily gave up my shares in the company. As compensation, I kept the 30 million yuan in the card. Just as I was about to leave the room, Jiu Shencheng called out to me. Yeah. I turned around. His voice was a bit hesitant, and finally, he asked that question. Do you still love me? I smiled at him. Take good care of yourself and recover soon. The moment the door of the ward was closed, I heard a sorry with a sobbing tone coming from the ward. The person I had loved for 2 lifetimes. We had loved each other, quarreled, and even hated each other. But we had never imagined that one day we would end up like this. Sorry, but I can no longer love you. 5 years later, I walked down the aisle with my boyfriend, who I had been in a relationship with for 2 years, and got married. A year later, my son was born, and I named him Lu Yuqing, on the day of the baby's full moon banquet. A lawyer dressed in a suit walked into the banquet hall and took out a pre-drafted contract. As of the effective date of this contract, the ownership of 40% of the shares of the GU Group will be automatically transferred to Mr. Lu Yuqing. The lawyer respectfully handed the contract to me. Ms. Lin, this is